Lloydminster City Council is planning for the future, approving its 5-year capital plan. From items costing millions of dollars to 1,000, the annual plan is a snapshot of the city's anticipated capital expenses.
If you looked at last year's and compared it to this year's, some of those items were on the capital budget, some of those items got pushed off, and it's a moving forward plan.
Topping the list of expenses is, of course, the wastewater treatment plant. If it can secure provincial funding, the city plans on spending $9 million of the $8 million project this year.
We're still in negotiations with both provincial governments, and hopefully soon with the federal government to move forward on that project.
That is, of course, $80 million for that project. The city is budgeting for $50 million in capital expenses for 2018, but that number could be more than $70 million for each of the next 3 years. Now, despite Lloydminster's long-standing membership with the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association, city councillors voted not to renew the city's membership. The city has held a membership since the early 90s, which helps pay for the maintenance and development along the highway. But recent changes to the board had some councillors questioning its benefits moving forward.
It has got some great value, but at the same token, is the value still there today, and they've done a lot of great work. If it wouldn't have been for that organization, I don't think 16 Highway would be twinned today between here and Saskatoon on to Edmonton. But at the same time, sometimes organizations reach their point in usefulness, and I think that with a little time, hopefully that organization can be reborn if that's what is so chosen.
The annual cost of the membership is $5,000. City Council will look at reinvesting in the organization again next year should it benefit the city.
It's a pay-to-play scenario, right? So if you want to have a voice on what goes on in terms of that development of that organization, you pay, then you play. Right now, I think one of the things we saw is we focused on the money part of it in terms of what we pay to play, but I think there are other dimensions that came up in our discussions, and one of them is there really anybody to play?
There have been no announcements from the city as to where those savings will be allocated.
This is Newcap Sports.
Rustlers basketball may be finished for this year, but it doesn't mean discussion stops surrounding next year's teams. Lance Phillips and Josh Ryan are here to break down what to expect from both Lakeland squads after provincial and national championship appearances.
Thank you very much, Josh. Basketball for Lakeland Rustlers. A good season on the men's side, and I would argue a good season on the women's side. Let's start on that men's side. What did you like about what you saw from them this past season?
Well, what I liked most about them was their defense. Really inconsistent team last year, had real trouble picking up guys when the momentum of the game slowed down. This year, much better man-to-man and much better at switching off the ball to guard defensively. They're actually one of the top defensive teams in the league this year, though it didn't pan out as well on the national level. The fact that they made it to nationals was a real good trip.
When we look ahead to 2018, the 2018-2019 season, what are some improvements you think this team needs to make?
Well, I think their depth is the biggest question to address. They really had to rely on 3 or 4 players every night to carry the offensive load. A guy like Paul Smith-Prophet was great off the bench, giving them sometimes an 11, 12-point night, maybe some double-double nights with his rebounding, but he's not a guy you can get a lot of points from. They really missed Ricardo Joseph off the bench when he left the team second half. They need a guy like that to come in and address some extra scoring.
The women's basketball team finished last season with 7 players. This season they move in with a bunch of rookies. Do you like what they did? Or are you surprised at what they did this year?
I think I'm a little surprised they were as successful as they were. I mean, it's a well-coached team, obviously, as we're both friends with Chris Kinger. We have a bias there, but he's done a nice job with this program. And there's some veteran presence on the team that certainly helped, but that they were able to weather the storm with their pretty rough offseason of losing players due to injury and other things like that. It was a very good result for them to finish top 4. They just really missed Tori Dugan.
Let's talk about Tori Dugan. Some key players are leaving this year. Shania Magnuson, Kelsey Sinnett, and Bailey Johnson is going to Brandon. How big is Tori Dugan coming into the 2018-2019 season? What kind of difference does she make?
Well, she's ultimately the difference between them being a championship level team and not quite a championship team. She replaces Ashley Norman as their starting point guard. If she's in the league, she's maybe the best point guard in terms of distributing the ball across the league. So huge for that team, and they could be contenders once again.
A lot of big shoes to fill for Tori Dugan, probably her own from 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to the seasons of 2018-2019 for Rustlers basketball.
And that's your first look at sports. Josh Ryan is in next with your weather details.
This is Newcap weather.
Well, I was very happy to be indoors today with another blanket of snow hitting us in late March. That is, I guess, typical to happen here in Lloydminster. But the good news is that despite some cooler temperatures, we are going to have sunlight over the next couple of days. Let's look at the next 24 hours, though. Still plenty of cloud cover to look at. Low pressure system mostly missing our city as it moves south of the border city. The southern part of Saskatchewan will be hit by fairly cold temperatures and definitely some precipitation as well with this system as it makes its way across will be interesting to watch. Again, the worst of it did miss our region and will hit other areas of Saskatchewan in a little bit more aggressive manner. And now their current weather across the nation, you have +2 in Regina and -4 out in Edmonton. So starting to cool down a little bit to the west of us. 13 in Vancouver. They're certainly quite happy with that weather compared to the rest of the country. 5 in Winnipeg, which is very warm in Winnipeg, even for March. 3 in Quebec City, 4 in Toronto, and out on the coast in St. John, they're sitting at +1. I'd love a +1 temperature today. Not going to get it though. -2 in Marwayne as well as in Bonnyville. St. Paul sitting will be at tomorrow at -3. So generally low minus temperatures on the radar throughout this region. Edmonton will actually get up to +2, so they're a little bit better off than some of the rest of the region. Isle La Crosse, as usual, will be the coldest. They're going to hit about -7 in the middle of the afternoon. St. Walburg at -3, and Macklin and Provost, they'll be a little bit closer to that low of -1, so a little bit closer to 0. -2 is the current temperature in the Battlefords right now, and that will be something we'll see again tomorrow, or close to, that is. -15 overnight with wind coming out of the east, and then tomorrow -4 with cold and a little bit of sunshine. Now there's the correct temperature for the Lakeland region at -9 with, again, cloudy skies. Was -10 earlier, so it's warmed up just a hint. -14 expected to be the overnight low with a patchiness of clouds and clear skies. -2 expected as the overnight, or the high rather, for tomorrow afternoon. Again, a mix of clouds and sun as the wind shifts into the west-northwest. Could be a variance of 11 to 19 kilometers over the course of the day. Now -8 still in the Midwest. It's been -8 essentially all evening. It'll drop down to -14 overnight, as it did in the is planning to rather in the Lakeland region. And again, it'll be mainly clear, just a little bit of cloud cover scattered around, and it's going to be a cold night due to some wind speeds that could get into the 19-20 kilometer range. That'll definitely bump up the wind chill, I should say. -3 expected to be tomorrow's high. Again, some sun, but it's going to get cloudier as the day goes on and also get chillier once that happens. Wind will be a similar variance of 13 to 22 kilometers. Then it's quite the jump after that in temperatures. -13 on Thursday, then -12 on Friday, despite some nice sunlight. -9 Saturday, -7 Sunday, and while it is warming up to -6 on Monday, -5 Tuesday will be littered with plenty of snowfall, expecting around 3 to 5 centimeters to hit us at the end of that 7-day forecast. The low is also a little bit cooler, certainly, than the average for this time of the year. The wind, however, will be a little bit calmer than it has been, around 11 to 17 kilometers through most of the week.